Welcome to Unleashed Podcast, where all are welcome. Now, here is your host, Pup Twigs.
Hey everyone, Pup Twigs here, another episode of Unleashed. And joining me from Missouri is Jett Forte. How are you, man?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing really good. Glad you could join us.
Absolutely. Happy holidays to everybody.
Yes. So let me just jump right into it. Share a little bit about yourself and your journey and what being part of our gay community means to you.
Well, I think that the quick intro that I usually give people is, "Hi, I'm Jett Forte. I am the non-binary polyamorous wannabe go-go bear from mid-Missouri who's here to show you that kink and leather greatness comes from small places." That's the very short tagline. Uh, my journey has been, I mean, growing up, it's been very kind of traditional, like queer Midwesterner, like very closeted, come from a small conservative family, not really feeling like I can come out. It wasn't
Hmm.
until I really hit college that I was able to kind of start to explore and be myself and explore my gay identity. It's always like a little bit of like a I'll come out to these people here. I'll come out to these people here, slowly but surely. But I met my husband in college. We've been together since then. So that's going on 12 years now, which has been awesome. Been super grateful for have him in my life. Thankfully, my family was very open once I did finally come out to them, but there was always struggles with them trying to figure out how to broach being gay. And within the last handful of years, I've started to explore my non-binary identity and my polyamorous identity. And those have been a lot more fulfilling in terms of having that journey because I've been able to do it with a community. The leather
Hmm.
community and the pet community have been hugely supportive in terms of embracing the Jett Forte experience. My pronouns are he, him, she, her, and so I have it's been 30 plus years of just continual growth and exploration, and it doesn't end. As I have you know been able to meet more people and see more of the world, I'm starting to potentially see more of a pansexual as opposed to gay, being open to exploring all different types of identities, and the attraction to lots of different people. And so it's been great. Yeah, that's kind of my journey in terms of the community aspect. I mean, I think that our gay community and our queer community in general is truly like a family in both the good and the bad.
Hmm.
Um, we have lots of people who we are very close to. We have people who we tend to favorite. We have those that are mentors, like parents. We have our elders who are the wizened people that we listen to, and we take some of those ideas and leave some of them in the past. And we have our kooky aunts and uncles who say off the wall things, and sometimes we laugh, and sometimes we have to say maybe they're not coming to the family reunion anymore. But we are we're a family for good and bad, and so I think that that's been a huge part of understanding what community means to me is that there are always going to be people that you don't agree with. There's the people that you disagree with,
Right.
but we're all still family, and we have to support each other because there's so many more people out there in this world that want to tear us down regardless of what we think of each other.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. It's good to see that, we have most of the time a close-knit community and stuff, but every now and then we have a fracture, but we gather around them and try to help them the best we can and move on.
Yeah, and we're all in we're all growing. No matter how old you are, how far along your journey you are, there's
Correct.
always room to grow, there's always room to learn. And so I definitely believe in trying to help other people and try to get people up to speed with what is you know within what is correct within our culture. And
Hmm.
sometimes that's not always the most positive opinion, but I think people are deserving of second chances and um, being able to grow and be better people
I,
for our
I
community.
agree. Well, if you were able to leave our listeners with one message about, love, acceptance, or just being true to yourself, what would it be?
Oh, goodness gracious. I think that you really have to I hate to quote RuPaul, but I mean, how are you going to love yourself if you can't, or how are you going to love others if you can't love yourself? So
Yeah,
often
yeah.
I see people who are striving for happiness, they're striving for belonging, they're striving for this, sense of purpose, but they look for it in the way that others see them and the
Hmm.
relationships that they have. My biggest piece of advice is you have to learn how to love yourself, value yourself, have self worth, and be able to find joy in being alone, because then whenever you do enter into relationships, whenever you do seek out community, you bring something more to the table than just I need validation. And so I
Yes.
always say, like, you have to do the work, you have to put the work into yourself before you can put the work into others.
Yeah, very true, very true. Well, what advice would you give someone that's just starting to embrace their identity?
Ooh, I mean, are we talking about just like queer identity or pet identity or
It
all
could
the
be any
above?
of it. I mean, maybe it's someone that's just now accepting that they're gay, and where do I move it to this point? Where do I go next?
Well, I think the number one thing I would say is don't go to the apps first.
Yeah.
You're not gonna find the kind of validation that you need for your soul on Grinder, on Scruff, on Sniffies. They're fun. There is joy to be had there in many different forms. But you can't try and base your identity through those. You have to go out, you have to find the people that you can call friends and
Hmm.
family that are going to uplift you for you. You have to have those tough conversations with yourself and ask questions. Like, you know, I don't think that I was going to ever come out as non binary without talking to the right people in my life, being
Yeah.
able to say, ask the question. I can remember so clearly. The question that I asked myself was, why am I using the term we whenever I refer to women as like a whole? There was
Mhm.
something weird about that in my brain. I was like, why am I saying we whenever for so long I've identified as a man? And so I started to ask that question of why is this happening to people that I was close to in my life? And I started to realize that I'm not just a cisgendered man. There was something nebulous about my gender identity. And so have those questions, ask other people, and it's a philosophic journey more than anything, I think. um you just gotta have to be very critical of who you are and not be afraid to ask those questions.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, over the years, I mean, unlike me, I mean, I've been out since I was 34, and I've attended a lot of events everywhere.
Mhm.
What has been your favorite memory of an event or something that you've attended?
uh so I think that my favorite memory, and this is probably going to sound like a very odd memory, was probably losing international person of leather.
Oh yeah.
Um, so I started kind of my leather journey, and whenever I say leather journey, I mean within the greater leather community.
Hmm.
I had been practicing leather and kink for years, pre pandemic, but I just recently, within the last year and a half, 2 years at this point, have kind of entered into what the leather community, and I ran for the Missouri Person of Leather title, and I ran on that tagline of like there's kink and queer greatness in small places, and it resonated, and I was given the platform of Missouri Person of Leather and then pushed on to the Midwest Person of Leather, and it was so fast of a journey. Like, I realized that I was like, I'm running for an international leather title before I've even been in the community for a full year, which
Hmm.
was baffling to me. um it was validating, don't get me wrong, it was wildly validating to see so many people put their faith and their support in what I call the Jett Forte experience. um but getting to stand on an international stage with people who are fantastic leather people and creatures, and I love my international title family that I ran with, but having that moment to put everything out there, I spent money to make sure that my package looked correct, that I put my best foot forward. I didn't come away with the win. I was literally 2 points away
Oh,
in terms of
wow.
the contest. It was very, very close. And I literally, look back on that moment and think that like in that moment, I saw the most realized version of myself that I could put out there to the community. I left it literally all on that stage, and regardless of how the contest was going to end up, I was so incredibly thankful for that moment. And so, even though I did lose the contest, I walked away with so much more internally
Oh, yeah.
that that to me was priceless. Like I felt like I could go into any space, I could go into any situation, and I could be Jett Forte, um, the shining star that I always kind of knew I was, but was afraid to put out there. I literally had that power now.
That's got to be one heck of an experience. So,
It truly was. And look, for anybody who's out here saying that, oh, I want to run for a title, I want to do these things, like the stamina that it takes to run for these titles,
oh,
the
yeah.
the the amount of yourself that you're going to put out there and have to be okay with people scrutinizing is so great. You put your all into this. I mean, for months, the only thing that was on my mind was, what am I wearing? What am I saying? Where's my interview prep? Where, like, the hours of rehearsal for my fantasy scene, like all of these things, it took so much time and effort. It is challenging. But also the reason I ever got on that stage was because I looked at him and said, I could do that. So you
Mhm.
kind of have to have a little bit of Delulu thinking, oh yeah, this is easy, and then realize how much work goes into it. And I think that is what leads people to success.
Yeah. Well, what misconceptions about our community do you wish that more people understood?
Well, I think that I've got two different answers for this. So I'll take it from first the misconceptions that people have from within the community, and then from misconceptions people have from outside the community.
Okay.
So I think that one of the biggest misconceptions that we have inside of our community currently, and whenever I say community, I kind of refer to like the leather and kink scene.
Okay.
Um, I understand that I am also part of the greater queer community, but my vision and my kind of being as Jett Forte lives and exists within the leather and kink community so thoroughly that that's kind of my area that I kind of look at. But I honestly think that our community has to understand that we are under such harsh times that we can't afford to be picky, and we can't afford to isolate ourselves within our safe spaces, if that makes sense. um, Now more than ever, we are needing to innovate and find new ways to reach out and reach more people, because there are so many, you know, queer people who, like me, live in small, rurally type areas that so desperately need somebody who can reach out and say, hey, you're not alone, or the way that you think is not, weird or some offset. Like, you can be a pup and that's totally okay, and we validate you. Or you can be a leather person, you can be kinky.
Hmm.
And so often I see all of these events that take place in, these major metropolitan areas, because that's where it's safe, and there's no reach out to try and figure out ways to get to the smaller gay bars and like littler areas. Or how do we reach out and find people that need the support, but just don't have it. And we live in a digital age where uh, reaching out and connecting is easier now more than ever. I mean, you're in Florida, I'm in Missouri, and we're having this fantastic conversation about leather and kink and, our queer community.
Yes.
And so we are able to connect so much easier. And so we really need to do more to find those that need our help, and not be so picky, not be so alienating, not be so cliquish, and really, really try to bring people in, because we have to bolster our numbers. We have to build a stronger community, because the world is coming for us. Um, But I think that the other misconception that I would give to people who are outside of our community is that we might look scary because of all the leather and the chains and whatnot and the whips and the floggers and all that. But like, honestly, like leather people are probably the sweetest, most caring people because we have so much ability to communicate, to ask for consent, to be knowledgeable of other people's needs and wants and desires. We do this all the time through our scene planning, and that translates into how we interact with each other and with those who are coming from outside the community. Like, we are some of the nicest people in the world.
I will
We
agree.
just look scary.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. What were you going to finish your
My,
statement?
I was just gonna say, like, whenever you see me coming down the stairs and 5-inch platform, thigh high, heels plus my skirt and a corset and a whip, I get it. It looks scary and intimidating, but I will be the first person to run over to somebody and give them a hug and say, hey, how's it going? How are you doing? Um, I live for that social interaction. I live for engagement with the community. I just like to look really fierce while doing it.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, I threw this question in this year because I just like to find out certain things about who I'm interviewing. And if you could go out and master one talent, maybe you already have one, what would that talent be?
Oh man. Uh I think that if I can master one talent, uh I think it would be, maybe this is a cop out of an answer, but I think I'd want to master how to be healthy and
Okay.
like physically, mentally, spiritually, because I think that so much could be affected and changed if I knew how to be the healthiest version of myself.
Right.
Um, like if I was, more in shape, or if I could, help, with some of the body issues that I know that I have. I mean, I understand like body positivity and all that, but I also understand that like being a big guy, there's health risks with that.
Hmm.
And I understand that that then affects, my mental health and my self-image, and I have to work on that. If all of those things, if I could master how to get all of that in check, so much more of my time could then be spent towards mastering the other things that I want to do. Like, learning to sew or learning to do leather work or learning to, I've always, like, from a kid, I've always wanted to learn how to play the French horn. Ridiculous, ridiculous, want or ask. But I just always remember being like, I played the trombone. I'm a music kid from, way back when. I got a music degree whenever I went to college. I played the trombone, but I always wanted to play the French horn. And
Awesome.
so like, I would have I think I'd have more time and more emotional energy and more ability to do that if I could figure out just how and master being the healthiest version of myself.
I get you on that. Yes. So this could be either current or in the past,
Mhm.
but who is or was your first celebrity crush?
Okay. So rest in peace. My first celebrity crush was probably Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
Um, I I remember watching A Knight's Tale way back when.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that was like the first time that I had that, like, oh, there's something about this person that I can't stop looking at. He had like the dirty blonde hair and the curls, and he was just kind of rugged, but also like sweet. He was also kind of a doof, but then learned and grew. And there was just something so uh interesting about him in that role that just stuck with me. And then, of course, he went on to do Brokeback Mountain and had that entire experience. And I think that kind of solidified it because it was that like, oh, this is somebody who is not only hot, but isn't afraid to dive into the realm of queerness in a time where, a movie like Brokeback Mountain just wasn't getting made. It was a very taboo thing. Um,
Yes.
we're lucky now that media has grown to the point where we have bad queer movies. Like
Yeah.
we have the ability to have both good and bad media, tied to the queer experience. But back then, you know movies were either low grade B, C, D tier type movies, or you had like Brokeback Mountain.
Hmm.
Um, and so I really respected him for a long time. Until the day he passed, I was always a Heath Ledger stan. I thought that he was, absolutely gorgeous. Um, so yeah, I think that would be my answer. Is that Heath Ledger was
Yeah,
my very first
uh,
crush.
Heath Ledger is a good choice. I agree.
Good, I'm glad.
Well, I don't know if you sing, do karaoke or anything like that. And if you don't, you can just pick a regular hype song that you just love
Sure.
listening to. But what's your go-to karaoke song or hype song?
Oh, anything by Kesha. She is my girly. Uh, Kesha started coming out with music in like high school for me.
Hmm.
And by the time I got to college, that was like we would put her on because that was like during her like party girl time. She was putting out music all about like going out, being hot, going to the party. And like during college, like we would put that on before we go out. We were pre-gaming. Like Kesha's my girly through and through. I have been a fan of hers through her highs and her lows. Whenever she comes out with new music, I'm always one of the, first people to listen to the album. Like I absolutely love her. She has been through so much and she has held her own and stood up to the adversity of the, music industry, and has turned it into to gold. And I've just really been a huge fan of hers and continue to be. And I mean, when you're at a karaoke, you're trying to be the party anyway, so you might as well sing some of the
Oh,
best party songs out there.
there you go. Well, our next to the last question, what challenges, and I know you've talked about some already,
Hmm?
but what challenges have you faced over the years and how have you been able to overcome them?
Sure. Um, so I think that one of the biggest challenges that I have had to and I will say that I'll say that and I'll include my husband in this, that we have had to get through is figuring out the best relationship model for us.
Hmm.
Um, we started as monogamous, but and we did that for years, and then certain events happened in life, and we decided to become open, and then I would be more open than he was for times, and there was always kind of a disconnect of like, why is this like we're allowing each other to be happy, but we're still not quite getting it. He ended up needing to come out as demisexual, which uh, you know really kind of shed light on why an open relationship wasn't working, because he needed to be able to connect with people more in order to have that sexual attraction, and a lot of times in an open relationship you're not looking for that. You're looking for just that, immediate gratification.
Yeah.
Um, and so that is then what led into us discussing polyamory. And then we had to go through, okay, well, what does that mean? What kind of relationships are we allowing? Which then also led into the conversation of kink, because then we had to start talking about, what about dynamics? Are those different than a relationship? If I have a boy who I am the sir to, or if I have a pup who I handle, is that considered a relationship, or does it have to be somebody I'm romantically entangled with?
Right.
And we started talking more about kink, and being able to have that kind of discussion. We eventually landed on the model that we have now, where we date separately a lot of the time, but we are also open to dating somebody together. We just have
Hmm.
very different tastes in guys, like um and people, I should say. And we just have had to do a lot of work. It's taken a lot of communication. It's taken a lot of difficult conversations, for sure, um that are not always super comfortable to have, but it's been worth it, because we have now found ourselves in an era of our relationship where I think we are probably the strongest and happiest we've ever been.
Oh, that's
um
so good to hear.
yeah, it really boils down to, we are very uh we are very, everybody in general has a lot of depth to them, and to experience or to expect that one person is going to be able to fulfill every single need that you're going to have, to us just didn't make sense. For others, that are monogamous, like, I wish y'all the best. I couldn't do it now. My husband gives me a lot of security. We built our life together, but my pup and boyfriend who lives down in Dallas, that he allows me to explore being a handler and being a sir and having a dynamic based relationship where, yes, we're boyfriends, but also there is a power exchange that goes with it.
Hmm.
And so having these types of relationships allow me to explore different aspects of myself in a greater depth than if we were just open. And so that has been probably one of the biggest challenges that we have had to face together. And through thick and thin, we have managed to make it to the other side, and are living such fulfilling lives now.
Well, that's so good to hear. I love that.
Thank you.
Well, last question, and we'll make
Mhm.
it somewhat of an easy one. Who is your ultimate icon or role model? It can be a celebrity. It doesn't have to be, but who's your role model out there?
Well, okay, so I've got two, and again, I like to go down two branching paths. If you haven't,
Okay.
if you couldn't tell, so I think from a celebrity standpoint, my somebody that I really admire and uh, kind of wish to emulate a little bit is Jinx Monsoon of RuPaul's Drag Race fame and all that.
Hmm.
Um, she whenever I saw whenever I saw her on her original season, I was a huge fan, because she was faced with a ton of adversity. She was, going against the grain, putting out drag that was by many of the contestants on there seen as out of the ordinary, out of the box, not fitting within the social, cultural norms of what drag was. And she pushed through, and, she won her season. She became beloved. She's, musically talented. She's come out time and time again, showing that growth does not stop at any point in life. You can, become queer, and then you can become trans, and you have all of these moments in life where you discover a little bit more about yourself. And I've really admired her ability to not just be a drag queen and not just be a winner of RuPaul's Drag Race, but continue to be the most authentic version of herself, because
Hmm.
she knows that there's so many people watching and needing her, um her brand of, drag and her story, um to be able to push themselves to also be their truest self. And so I really admire her and the journey that she's had. And I really, I really respect a lot of what Jinx does. But from a more personal note, I think that my role model, within the community, especially locally here, is a pup, up in Kansas City, Pup Zephyr, who uh, kind of pushed me into the path that I am now, in terms of, my title journey and my community journey. And we have, really grown over the years. He was a former Missouri pet, former Midwest, or sorry, he was Missouri puppy and former Midwest puppy, I believe, before they changed it over to pet. Um, and ran for international puppy as well, and did very well. They hold themselves with such poise within the community. They have so much respect for themselves and for what our community should stand for, but is also so open and has this ease of being able to communicate and interact with a room that I envy, because everybody loves Zephyr. He is just such a fantastic individual. And I really have a lot of respect, and I would not be here without them and the work that they have done within the community. They've helped me along every part of my journey. And so, a huge shout out to Zephyr. Love you.
I love getting role models and stuff, and it be somebody local to the person that's on the podcast. 95% of the ones I've interviewed have all been somebody local. It hasn't been a celebrity or somebody like that. It's somebody local that's had a part in helping guide and develop this person into who they are today, which is awesome to hear.
And that's a huge reason why I advocate for, working within your local scenes, your local clubs, your local areas. I think that a lot of people get focused on these big events like International Mr. Leather and IP, like International Puppy and Trainer, and
Hmm.
North American Bear and Mid Atlantic Leather and Texas Bear Roundup, like these big, massive events. And yeah, they're a lot of fun, and you're going to meet amazing people from all across the world. But those are kind of fleeting moments, and they're great to go into and then have that experience. But you're not going to get the depth of community. You're not going to get
Yeah.
the people that you are going to call your lifelong friends at a lot of these events. Like, you're going to get it whenever you start to dive down into people who are nearby, who understand the community that you're in, understand the struggles that are unique to your area, that are going to be there to uplift you both, in person and not. Like, those are the people that you need to surround yourself with first, I think, and
Yeah.
then start to move forward. Nothing against those big cons and whatnot, but they aren't the end all be all.
Oh, yeah.
You can have just as much fun, if not more, going out to a local leather night or pet night at your local bar, as opposed to going to a big con.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Jet, I want to give you a chance to share any social media in case someone wants to reach out to you. So I will turn it over to you for that.
Sure. Most of my social media is at Jett Forte. So I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. If you want the spicier side, I'm over on Blue Sky. Blue Sky. It's all at Jett Forte. I think I'm also on FetLife. Same place. I don't use FetLife as much, but I am there. But yeah, if you want to connect with me, best place to do it is through Facebook. Send me a message. I'm pretty open about that. So that's most of the social media is at Jett Forte, all one word. Jett with two T's.
All right, sounds good. Well, any last words before we log off of here?
Yeah, I think that my last words would harken back to the answer that I gave whenever I was running for Missouri Person of Leather, when asked if I had a motto, and it is just dare to dream, dare to be who you want to be, dare to be the person that you feel on the inside, because you're not going to find that fulfillment in life if you don't follow your heart. Whether it's being a pet, being a critter, being leather, being kinky, and embrace it all. Like, I'm a leather person. I'm also a critter. I got my hoods over here. I do lion and big cat type critter play. So like, be that, but you can also be a handler. You can also be a sir. You can also be a boy. You can also be little. You can be a big. You can be all the things, or you can be none of the things. But just dare to be exactly what you want to be, and go forth and just do the damn thing.
There you go. Couldn't say it any better. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to join me on here today. It's been
Of
awesome to
course.
talk to you. I love learning about other people, and it's just awesome to get to talk to you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciated it. It was a lovely, lovely time. Thank you for the platform, and shout out to all my Missouri Kingston leather people.
Awesome. Well, Jet, we'll be talking to you again soon, okay?
All right, see ya. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and share with your friends. Until next time, keep wagging, keep shining, and stay unleashed.